I got 2 words for 2XKO. 10 years. No, make that 3 words. 10 years. So over the weekend, Riot Games has announced that it is shutting down active development for its 2D tag fighting game, 2XKO, and is currently issuing refunds. Less than a year since launch, so yeah, people who Twitter is definitely a buzzing, that's for sure. You got a bunch of people with their takes and whatnot and saying, oh, it was a dead project to begin with. Oh, people aren't supporting the fighting games enough. Well, I'm here to talk to you about my perspective as not just a fighting game player, but also someone who has been in the game development side for a while. See, way before KKP, Kakuchopuri, I've actually did some work on free-to-play games. I was actually more like a PR guy. I actually did the narrative and story for some of these titles. Mobile games, I even had a hand in the development process and everything. Yeah, it was a good time. A very enlightening, very cutthroat, and very, how do I put this? Fire heavy. I mean, they do retrench quite a bit of people here and there, whether your time is up and whatnot, and whether you actually have pissed off people. Again, politics in workplaces, they're in any other industry, honestly. But suffice to say, I've actually learned a lot when I was working in companies like Gumi and whatnot for like the past, I think it was like 2013, 14, 15, 16, like that, around those couple of years. Very, very, very eye-opening, that's for sure. So, in terms of this, apparently this game has been concepted as soon as the fighting game made by the Seth Kidden studio, I forgot the name, the developers in Riot Games who actually made 2XKO, they previously did Rising Thunder, a really good one-button fighting game. I guess it's like a simple one-input kind of fighting game with a pretty cool soundtrack and a pretty successful beta test. And then that game got shut down because they were bought over by Riot. Riot wanted them to make the League of Legends fighting game. It was not the best kept secret for sure, but at the same time, there was promise for it per se. And then years passed, people had not heard about it. At the same time, I believe, Riot Forge was happening. Riot Forge was an initiative by Riot Games to actually have single-player games based in the League of Legends universe. It had some critical acclaim, but in terms of success, unfortunately not so much. I had fun playing these single-player games, like The Ruined King is actually one of my favorite League of Legends games that isn't League of Legends. That was pretty awesome. And then you have Convergence, that was a platforming title. That was really fun. The rest were kind of mid to I don't really give a shit sort of tier, more or less. Convergence is like basically you play as Echo in a platforming kind of game. You got some really cool fight scenes and animation. And Mage Slayer was it Mage Slayer or Mage Seeker? Mage Seeker was also another one. Top-down 2D action game where you play as Silas, the guy with the chains from League of Legends. That was actually kind of fun. It had some fun boss battles here and there. Really, really cool. And then they stopped making these. Apparently they did not sell that well. I really don't know why. These games were actually really well made. I guess maybe they weren't marketed heavily enough compared to League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics, or Legends of Runeterra, which itself was a really fun free-to-play game until they realized that the free-to-play aspect of it is better than paying for it. And now I think 2XKO came out this year, like basically less than a year, it got shut down. Well, active development will stop in December. They saw the writing on the wall. We kind of saw that coming when January hit, when the game came out. They fired basically 75%, half the staff, lots of the staff, alright? They fired half the people working on 2XKO, most of them. So it's running on a skeleton crew. And you could already tell as soon as they made the announcement, that's a dead game. And I have to incline to agree. If the game was successful to begin with, we would not have heard about this sort of news until like maybe at the end of this year or so. But the fact that happened after the game came out shows not many signs of confidence. There's no vote of confidence right there. So again, I tell you, what actually took so damn long to make a tag fighter? Again, tag fighting game. Okay, fighting games itself is already a very niche kind of genre compared to your shooters and your MOBAs. Those games do really well as free-to-play or as a paid games. Fighting games, very niche. You gotta basically stand out. Either you be a very colorful Marvel kind of title, or just Street Fighter, where that's a universally known IP, or even Tekken. Even though that's being botched by Bandai Namco as of late, at least that game is still being played a lot by a lot of people because of how easy it is to get into, and also kind of packed with content like Street Fighter 6. But Street Fighter 6 still hold the gold standard. 2XKO, after 10 years, it went through an iterative process. It went from a single player to a tag fighter. They shelved the platform fighter version of it. And yeah, it came out of the beta. It felt really okay to play. I mean, but it was really, really complicated. Look, as someone who likes fighting games, I do believe tag fighters can be the most complicated games to play, despite the fact they try to make it as button mash friendly as possible, like BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle or Marvel Tokon that came out this year. Invisible Versus, also kind of mash happy, but it also is complicated with 3 characters you have to worry about in the team and the whole counter assist system going on. To have that in your fighting game when it's not a recipe to get casual players, but rather the hardcore people coming in. You've got so many styles of play, like you got Juggernaut for single player mode, you've got the tag battles, you've got like the handshake mode, and all the different modes here and there where you actually have 2 players fighting at the same, two of the same team coming at the same time. That's crazy. And for players to keep track of that, you need like high level play. That's actually meant for expert players. So it's no wonder why when 2XKO came out and when the beta was out, it was actually meant for people who are just into the scene, not so much people outside, whom I believe Riot Games should be targeting. And again, I don't want to harp on the dead horse, but 10 years being made, I'm actually looking at many Twitter feeds and posts stating that there's a conspiracy going on where the people who are in charge of that team, the management and whatnot, handling 2XKO, are just quote-unquote a bunch of old school FGC, old school heads trying to relive the glory days, bringing out people from the Marvel vs. Capcom scene, dicking around, getting paychecks for the next 10 years or 5 years or so, cruising it easy, release a product and then chabut, leave. It's, again, that's all conspiracy theory talk. We don't actually have proof of that happening, but again, as someone who has actually worked with FGC folks in Singapore, I'll just say it's not entirely untrue, but again, you need proof for that, and shady people do know how to hide proof when they can. I'll just tell you this. Again, back in the day, there was, SCA Major, all that other stuff. I was actually having the time of my life doing commentating work here and there. There's video of me out there, you can go look it up. But at the same time, there is a seedy underbelly thing going on where like the top people get pushed, the people who they don't like, they just pushed away. If they don't like your face, even though you are giving out results here and there, they will push you out and whatnot, unless you are in a position where you really don't deliver your work and all that. You don't do what's being given to you in due process, you get kicked out really quick. But at the same time, playing favorites and focusing more on eye candy, that is unfortunately, I mean, it's not just for fighting games, but also like in other circuits and sports, in gameplay, in video game communities here and there. It's just a lot more pronounced, and they try not to say it so much, but at the same time, there's no proof of it, but that stuff, like the whole thing where it's that something's happening in the back of your head, but you really can't prove it per se. The meme of that black guy showing up and thinking and all that, yeah, that is unfortunately a thing that is circulating here and there. But I digress. I do not know if there are actually shady people running 2XKO, that division, or it's just people playing favorites, picking not the right people to develop the game, but the people they want to work with and hang out with. Again, having a good working environment, people want to hang out, that's great. But if you don't deliver and don't hire the right people and have that balance, that's also messed up too. Again, you compare it to any other big video game company, Capcom. It took them a couple, 3 to 4 years making Street Fighter 6 run the way it did. Tekken 8 probably took around that long or even less. Marvel took on probably 3 years or so to make that. And to have a game like 2XKO released with 11 characters at launch, like in that state, with no single player, no compendium, no meaty kind of like single player, replayable, roguelike kind of mode, survival mode going on. After 10 years, that's not. And why are you acting so shocked that your game failed? Honestly, again. Now, what's the future? Is there anything that could have been fixed? I mean, no, it's the failure is already set in stone, more or less. Developers like these have set themselves up for failure, especially when it takes too damn long to release a game that plays fine, but there's really not much meat to it. Changing the name won't help. Making blog posts making fun about other games' names also does not help either. Maybe a bigger roster, I really don't know. But again, you could have made all that 10 years, you could have made like a 20, 30 character roster. You have so many League of Legends characters, just balance it out within due time and why not give yourself a time limit and go ahead right there. I'll bet you the people who are gonna see this video fire at me, hey, you think it's so easy, why don't you do it? 10 years? I could make a fucking fighting game with your team for 3-4 years, dude. It's all a matter of discipline and, not spending too much of your money dicking around. That's all I'm saying. Again, management is always going to be a problem. Putting in a very relaxed, too much of a relaxed kind of development team to make the game you want, while not prioritizing that the game should actually make money and attract as many people as possible, should be the goal. At the very least, if this game was made in 3 years and it flopped, that is a lesser blow considering you actually lost less money compared to losing money within the past 10 years making this game. Again, cut your losses. You gotta basically think practically. Again, games should be fun to make. You should have a conducive environment to create these titles, but at the same time, it is still a business. And charging X amount for all the costumes in the world for Ari or Jinx or the lesbians or whatnot, or the Gunnar bait characters, it's not enough. You still need to have a long-lasting game attracting casuals or whatnot. And about the Smash Brothers clone, I think Hungry Rocks released a take where if they actually went, he posted a really stupid take on the game. Where basically if they actually turn this 2XKO game to a Smash clone, nobody's gonna fucking play that. They'd rather play Smash Brothers Ultimate or Melee. They're not gonna play this 2XKO style Smash Brothers game because they'll play it like, oh, it's kind of like that. I'm just gonna go back to Smash Brothers Melee. Fuck off, You have to make that platformer fighter for League of Legends different, yet also enticing, and also for the community. I mean, maybe not for the social community, for everyone, the casuals, and also the pro players. For something, again, you need good game designers for that. Again, I'm not denouncing the team that made 2XKO much. They have talented people making the fun characters to play. They can use that ingenuity and work for less than 10 years, that's for sure. At least a couple of 2-3 years or so, give or take. Will the Smash clone actually help? Probably not. No. Because if you make it too much like Smash, your pro players and your other players will be like, we'll play it, and then they just leave and just play Melee or Super Smash Bros. Ultimate or whatnot. But again, this could have been fixed, unfortunately. This is a problem that was already it's a dead on arrival kind of situation, especially given the time limit allocated just to publish this subpar product. Having said that, at the very least, Riot Games is letting this game being played offline, which is great. Because I believe there was a video from Maximilian stating that if you want to keep the game alive, have his community just play it. It can be a small ass community, but again, you can, as long as the community is dedicated enough to keep it surviving for the next 10 years, then you're golden. People will still play this game even if it's a roster, tiny ass roster and everything, the tag system and all that. Again, it's up to the community whether they like it enough to continue this post-December 2026, because that's when the cut-off active development date is. Now look at Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. There were no updates for this game for God knows 10 plus years, 14, 15 years, and it's still being played up to this day. Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Those games have yet to receive updates at all since they launched, and then they had the Ultimate version out. Launched. It's still being played up to this day. So you tell me, if those communities can't handle that, I'm very sure there are people dedicated enough to 2XKO'ed to keep this game alive and hopefully keep that scene going on in the next few years or so. Otherwise, because at this point in time, the business end of this this game is dead already. It's unfortunately can't really be fixed. It sucks. It's sad, but it's inevitable. And people, for those wondering if a free-to-play game for fighting games can work, let me show you this game. Let me just put this up right there. There's a game called Brawlhalla under Ubisoft, but made by a bunch of, I guess not indie developers, they're probably rich right now. That game has been around for quite a while. Ubisoft has been hosting esports tournaments for this game. That's a platform fighter that is free to play, and while the fighting game community are actively ignoring it, because it's not their kind of game, it's doing way better than, I guess, 90% of the fighting video games out there. I think it had, last I checked, it had 14k active players. Street Fighter 6 has about 20k active players at this point in time. Brawlhalla is at 14k. Everything else is like less than 10k, with, I guess, Invincible having 30 people left. So you tell me what is more successful, despite the fact that you as a community ignoring this particular game. The numbers don't lie. The numbers do not lie. So at the end of the day, if you want a successful fighting game, yeah, those exist. If you're wondering why 2XKO did not succeed, the writing is already on the wall for that game. Its history has been detailed, and it took too damn long to make. I mean, the name itself is already stupid enough as it is. Why not just brand it as a League of Legends game? Like, use Runeterra, or use League, or use League of Fighters. I don't care. Anything generic that associates it with the brand itself. But again, that's far from the biggest problem the game has in terms of marketability, accessibility, and just the way it's being presented as a final product at launch. But again, you heard this take being told before here and there, and again, it's been said online, offline, everywhere. It's just a matter of when. It's sad, but again, inevitable. Thanks again for tuning in to this short little talk about 2XKO and why it failed. Again, if you love this game a lot, just support it when it goes offline and active development's done. They have 2 new characters I kind of want to check out. That looks pretty cool. But again, in terms of future support, it's all up to the community right now. They can just take a page from Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, Alpha, and also the Marvel vs. Capcom games. So there you have it. If you like more content like this, more freeform talking from yours truly, with a bit of gameplay footage being spliced in and whatnot, do check us out at Kakuchopre, our YouTube page. We post new content every week. Thanks. Do like and subscribe to our page. We post new content. Hit the notification icon at the bottom and all that. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.